Fernando Alonso returns after injury this weekend in Spa. Alonso suffered a biking incident which took him out of the Hungarian GP. Here's what Alonso had to say this week.
Obviously a bit unfortunate while I'm fighting for the championship, but I am back to normal and ready to fight.
You hear it there, Alonso back to normal and ready to fight. Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 23 driver career mode. You might notice I have an AI Alonso now, so there's a new update to the AI system that I use, and it has allowed me to get drivers with a lot more prominent accents when they're speaking English to be a lot more accurate with the AI. So you're going to hear guys like Alonso, Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, etc. in the future of the series, and really I would say just about anybody now at this point, which is awesome. But welcome back to a new episode. Hope you're all having a great day. Alonso, of course, coming off of the injury in the last episode there that took him out of the Hungarian Grand Prix, where we picked up our second win of the season, second career win in Formula 1. Alonso, though, topped practice 1, so he was right back to where he left off, of course, fighting for this World Drivers' Championship. We have a sprint weekend here as we're going to jump straight into qualifying, so double points up for grabs, of course, we'll call it, or two events up for points grabs, I should say, but I was a little bit concerned as we're talking to the media there in the garage, but you know, last time we had a sprint weekend, well, we know what happened. That was the Austrian Grand Prix, and we had our first mechanical failure of the season. So hopefully we can get through today's sprint here in Spa. Now, 8 laps on the table here in qualifying, though. Q1, a breeze. Actually, not much so. It was only 14th place in Q1, but fortunately that would be enough to advance. But Alonso and Piastri both get 5-place grid penalties for blocking, illegal blocking, so they would get penalized. That will not take effect to the Grand Prix. Of course, the sprint, their qualifying position here will still be the same in this sprint. Here we are in Q2, going for a hot lap. Of course, this is right at the end of the session, as I completely missed the apex here, heading down towards into Sector 2, but this would not be the lap I expected. 0.3 of a second off of the top 10. Going into the final sector, and something just didn't feel right, and it was replicated because for the, first time I think maybe this season, I might be wrong, but we're out in Q2. That might be the second time that's happened. Now, fortunately, we do have a sprint to try and make up for it, but a lot of work to do there. As you can see, Gasly, Magnussen, Ocon, Piastri will join us as Albon again into the top 10. We're going to jump straight through to the formation lap in the sprint.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway, ahead of today's sprint.
Alright team, great, front row lockout today. Let's keep Lewis and myself in the top 2.
100% George, have a safe race.
As all the cars take their positions on the grid, the final preparations have been made, and all that's left is for the drivers to deliver on track.
All right, mate, not where we want to start. Push hard and move forward.
Yeah, sorry about yesterday, guys. Just wasn't really working out there. Hopefully today's a bit better. A really disappointing qualifying, of course, in Spa here now as we're ready to roll for the sprint, but obviously further down the grid than we expected and wanted to be. One thing that I was, not surprised by was this position, because I was actually using a first season setup and I hadn't updated it, and I'm starting to think maybe I should have, but we can't change that now because of Park Ferme. So nonetheless, Mercedes front row lockout. Hamilton, Russell, P1, P2, 8 laps in the sprint here. You see the engine icon, that's just for a bit of a worn gearbox. It should be okay for the weekend. We're lights out, we're underway here from the sprint immediately. It's a terrible start for the Alfa Romeo Haas, and then Gasly's gonna throw a big block there on us there, right in the middle of the track, so we have to just kind of settle in right here behind him in that Alpine. Now as they continue up front, you can see Alonso right now scored 5th place behind Sergio Perez. Now as they head down up through Eau Rouge Radian, you got the Ferraris behind. Keep in mind, Ferrari right now has made big gains coming into these last couple of episodes. They are really strong in the R&D table, should be up front, but right now not really replicating that. Here's now Max Verstappen going for an overtaking, and look up just ahead of this battle, it's Alex Albon there. As you can see, Leclerc trying to fight Verstappen and hold him off with the softs, and he will be successful in that. Alex Albon continues to impress though in the Williams. Right now, from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, he is the top candidate to replace Alonso, who's retiring at the end of the season. So we will be returning to Aston Martin. It's no doubt we will be back for next season, but who's the teammate? right now it's looking like it will be Alex Albon now, as I'm going to make a big lunge up the inside of Gasly here at the end of lap 1 and get side by side with the Alpine. A little bit of contact right there. I kind of cut across his nose. I notice when I lack a lot of confidence in a car, I make a lot more mistakes than usual, and that was a bit of a mistake right there that fortunately does not result in an incident or any damage for myself or Pierre. So up into P13, and we started kind of trying to get a move on with it. At the end of lap 2, coming to lap 3, DRS enabled, and we're already on the back of Magnussen as we're going to lunge one up the inside of him into turn 1, nearly into the back of the Sauber there, right in front of us. Valtteri Bottas now, as we're going to try and get over him in the next lap or 2. As you can see, the big suck up that we have now. These cars, or our car, most cars top out at 218 miles per hour, which creates this a dead even fight down into the next corner. Fortunately, Valtteri on mediums, I kind of push him out wide after diving deep into the corner, so he only loses, not only loses a spot to me, but to Magnussen as well here now, as we would continue in P11, trying to run down the cars in front. Now, this final chicane was the big area where I'm able to gain a lot of time, as you're going to see me get my first warning for exceeding track limits. But watch this final chicane here. Coming to lap 7 already, 2 laps to go. This is where the big gains are. We entered the chicane about a second behind. We're going to cut that gap drastically, be well within the DRS at this point here, as we're going to head back up towards that long straightaway, and you can see the damage done to Ocon's gap. There's right on the back of him there. A little bit of contact, maybe even on his rear wing. As we continue P11, still need a few positions if we want to get points here. Now, as you see, Albon holding on to the points right now, up there in 8th place here. Now, with 2 laps to go, we've completely looped it around. A big driver error right there. We do a quick 360 no-scope, we'll call it, and we save it. We get back going, but the damage is done, obviously. Here's the replay, and I just dropped it. We've struggled all weekend in qualifying, now in the Grand Prix, or the sprint, I should say, and we would lose a spot to Magnussen. Bottas would actually outwheel me here, and I was just hanging on for the final lap, and because my tires were so hot and worn, and you can see on the final lap here, Gasly as well putting the fight to me, and I struggled. And it would be Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, the top 2 in these closing moments here of this final lap, and that's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 with Hamilton at the top step, and we're just bringing it home. P14, abysmal. Just nothing good right now. We're going to finish where we started. Not what we needed. The sprints have not been nice to me so far this season. That also means, you know, losing points to all 3 drivers we're trying to run down in the championship. Hamilton, Russell, Alonso. They all end up top 3. So Alonso, a good first, you know, little sprint back there with the injury there. So hopefully he can make it through the whole Grand Prix. But yeah, we got some work to do again in the actual Sunday Grand Prix. Let's head to the grid here in Spa.
Welcome to this visit to the Ardennes countryside. Spa-Francorchamps hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925, and this historic track is loved by drivers and fans alike, and us here in the commentary box too. So it's a warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners, and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high quality racing as well. Simply put it, there's no place quite like it. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, Verstappen, Albon, Fernando Alonso, Norris, Ocon, Magnussen, Bottas, Gasly, Golden Boy, Tsunoda, Sargent, Joe, Stroll, De Vries, and Oscar Piastri. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Well, we're going to be doing a medium to hard compound tire strategy here in Spa. It is supposed to rain, but it looks like a pretty small slot of rain. You see pretty split strategy all throughout the grid for mediums and softs. Let's get ready to roll for the formation lap.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Alright guys, it's not been a good weekend so far here now, but I'm going to give us the best send-off possible going into the summer break.
We believe in you. Let's aim for a top 5 today. Weather could help us. We will go long on these tyres if needed.
You hear a bit of an idea right there, so if we need to, we're going to go long on these tires. The reason I went for mediums, now my original strategy said, hey, do softs. But I was confident that that rain might hit. If we are on the mediums, we will not have made a pit stop yet, and we might be able to really benefit because of that. When the AI all decide to come in, we can maybe stay out and do one extra less stop. We're ready to go racing in Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's lights out, we're underway. Lewis Hamilton, George Russell have been the top 2 all weekend long. Now Alonso with the 5-place grid penalty starts further down the order. Perez up the inside of Hamilton into turn 1 here, as they're going to be wheel to wheel on the exit of the corner, by Hamilton already clear, out grips and out powers Perez down the short straightaway up towards Eau Rouge and Radian. Russell, however, settles into third. You got the Ferrari sandwich right there that Max Verstappen finds himself in. Leclerc at the back, Sainz at the front, and then behind this trio, it's once again Alex Albon there in the Williams, who continues to outperform his equipment. I say that, but that car has gotten so much stronger recently there. Perez made a look up the inside of Hamilton. He pays the price. Now Russell goes back through into second there. Sainz as well, ready to pounce on the Red Bull as we continue to watch Red Bull's struggles and concerns for that team. If they want to bring back Max Verstappen next season, that team's going to need to get things sorted out, because rumors are starting to circulate that Verstappen, as you can imagine, after winning 3 consecutive world titles, winning so many Grand Prix, is pretty frustrated with how this season has gone with Red Bull. And of course, at his status, he can realistically go to any team he wants. He could probably kick out whoever he wants as well, as we would continue, though. On the back of our teammate of Alonso, he got that 5-place grid penalty and actually lost a spot to Magnussen on the opening lap, and I was able to gain 3 spots. So we were up to P11, Alonso P10. As you see me following him, you can't do anything here. I mean, look at this. We're dead even down the straightaway. Of course, the same car, and Magnussen in the Haas. Well, the Alfa Romeo Haas has the fastest powertrain, so they have the most power. They're going to be very hard to pass down straightaways unless you just catch them off guard, and really it's all about getting either really late braking on them or a really good exit out of the corner leading down the straightaway. Speaking of a good exit, here we go. Not waiting around for my teammate of Alonso. We need to beat Fernando in points. Of course, we gained quite a bit of points last episode with our 2nd career win in Hungary, one of my favorite tracks to drive in the game, so it's really cool to pick up the win there. Now, of course, a Monaco Grand Prix winner and a Hungarian Grand Prix winner. We are now up into the points, so I was pretty happy about that, but obviously things so far, only 4 laps in out of the 22, feel like it's off to, a significantly better start, and it would continue. Here we are putting pressure on the Alfa Romeo Haas of Kevin Magnussen, drag racing with them down this back straightaway. He finds back that top end speed a little bit higher in that Haas car. We're going to go around the outside though, complete the pass, and Alonso's going to try and follow through here, and he would. Lap 6, he had moved up into P10 just behind myself, but not a great day so far here overall for our team at Aston Martin. We're 9th and 10th, while Mercedes, the team we've been battling with, is 1-2 with Hamilton out front. Russell still under attack from the Red Bull of Perez. We continue to close in as we get the message, rain ETA about 15 minutes. So right now, 15 minutes, maybe 12 or so laps. We're looking, towards the tail end of this Grand Prix, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens here. Now, a big run on the McLaren of Norris, who's not going to give us a lot of room. Contact there as we went off the circuit as we continue wheel to wheel on this medium tire. We're going to go around the outside of Norris like we have done already on Magnussen, and that will be a overtake completed, but things certainly got a bit close right there as we continue on. Next up, the target is Alex Albon in P7. I love these medium tires. If I can stay off of softs, I will, and I feel like that also hurt us a bit in the sprint. But I felt like I was, just right now firing on all cylinders here on these mediums now. Lap 9 of 22, and we continue to close in. Alonso is closing in as well on a struggling Lando Norris, of course, on those soft tires, which are clearly starting to fade in these closing laps of this strategy here now. So we're going to come through the final chicane, and you're going to see the drivers on soft start to come in. So Verstappen pits, Norris is going to pit as well. So all those guys on softs pit, and it'll be another lap or two till we see the drivers on mediums. But here we are putting the fight now to Alex Albon. As you can see, just a lot more top speed, but as well he had no advantage of the DRS, so we're able to go by him pretty easy with a little bit of help from the ERS overtake button. Moves us up into P5 currently here. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the rain. We know it's coming, as now you can see some drivers on mediums in Leclerc, Perez as well. Hamilton pits from the lead. He's going on to the hard compound tire. And now as we close in towards turn 1, through turn 1, you see the rain is falling here on Spa. We're going to go through the grid on lap 13.
So the rain is now falling, but we see Russell and Alonso pit anyways. Owen decides he will remain on track.
Remember, Owen's race engineer told him they would go long if they could, and this appears that's what they're going to do. Ted, what is the weather situation?
It's an interesting one, guys. From what I see on radar, I think this is going to be a very quick shower, and no one will need to go to a different tyre compound.
All right, we'll wait and see what happens. As you see Perez in front of both Sainz and his Red Bull teammate. Ted, I heard you've also heard some rumblings on Max's contract status.
Yeah, guys, it's no secret. It's been a tough year for Red Bull. Max has not won a race yet, and from what I have heard, if the team can't show him that they will deliver a winning car by the end of the year, he is gone.
That could throw a huge curveball into the roster for next year, couldn't it? Would Red Bull then consider calling up Albon and steal him from Aston Martin, who appears to be very interested?
Only time will tell. Martin, as you see Magnussen running 12th, as his teammate is down in 19th.
How about Tsunoda as well? He's had no pace today and runs dead last. Terrible day for him.
All right, there you have through the grid here now as we would continue to lead, but Hamilton was hard charging up to my rear diffuser here, lap 14 now, and while he is here, as you can see, the rain continues to fall. A big save right there, nearly had a moment. Hamilton's going to go around us, thank goodness that didn't result in a collision, but my tire wear was quite high at this point. My tire icon is actually going to come on right there, and I realized it's just not raining enough. This is not a strategy that is going to work. So we have stayed out far too long. We're going to lose some track position, but we got to pit now because it doesn't look like the track's going to get wet, and there was no updates on the weather aside from the dry seemed like the best tire for now. So I decided to bite the bullet. We're going to come in, put on the soft compound, and hope for the best here now and have a really hard charge late in this Grand Prix because we will be out of the points because of the fact that we stayed out for so long here now. So mediums off. Now the softs go on. That will put Alonso only back up into P10, so just not a great day for Aston Martin so far here now, as we're going to come out, it looks like P12, right in front of the Alpine there of Esteban Ocon. Piastri just behind him in the McLaren is the engine. The smoke pours out, the engine fails in our second mechanical failure of the season, and it's the second time it's been on a sprint weekend as well. Day over in Spa. As soon as we exit the pit lane, we will never know what was going to happen as we storm back into the paddock and what could have been there. Obviously, just nothing went right this weekend, and things managed to get even worse with the mechanical failure here at the end. And to make things worse, Fernando Alonso would also have a mechanical failure after myself. So both Aston Martins are going to be 19th and 20th. Absolutely terrible weekend. We missed Q2. Alonso gets a grid penalty in Q1. In the sprint, Alonso had a solid result, P3, but we had the spin. Didn't even get in the top 10. And now in the Grand Prix, we go too long on strategy, pay the price, then the engine fails immediately after exiting the pit lane, and then a little bit later, Alonso's engine fails as well, leading to his first DNF of the season and his first race back, of course, from injury. George Russell ended up getting the win over Lewis Hamilton, who had been in control for this whole race weekend, so a bit surprised there that Russell managed to find a way to beat him. Sainz ending up passing Perez, getting onto the podium as well. But yeah, really, disappointing. We had had a great start to the beginning of the season, and now we've had 2 mechanical failures here recently. Of course, we still are coming off that win in Hungary, but now we're going into the summer break where we can see some teams with a bit of a difference here in the R&D, but you see it right there, the 2 DNFs for Alonso and myself. That is so disheartening, because that's not going to help us in the constructors, obviously, as Mercedes, the team we're fighting, P1, P2. We talked about it. We're probably going to fall off in the mid-season after pushing so hard in the off-season for this team, and it seems like those cracks are starting to get larger in the Aston Martin performance and structure of this team. So 67 back we are in the driver's standings. It's going to be hard to fight for the World Championship in Season 2. 85 back in the constructors. That's going to wrap it up for me. Summer break time, we'll be back for the Dutch Grand Prix and hopefully a little bit more luck on our side. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, everybody.